Hi, and welcome to Geno's Picks, our Season 8 finale. How do we do it? Season after season, giving you winning picks. And despite the fact that we went 0-2 in the championship week, we're still 46-41, 53% on the year. And if you factor in college and football hoops, we're well over 65%. So let's get to it as I try not to tear up. Our Season 8 finale, Super Bowl 50. Yeah, a game so one of a kind that instead of the Roman numerals, they went to the old Hindu-Arabic. Yeah, I bet you forgot those are the two cultures that gave us that. And considering that all they've collaborated on in the past 2 centuries has been ISIS, why would you? At any rate, let's get to the picks. But first, gotta do one more. You know what really grinds my gears? The fact that despite 8 years of doing the funniest, most insightful videos on the web, with people that equate the fact that overall we're really about 60% on the year against the spread, you forget that we are historically right nearly all the fucking time with our predictions. I would love to go back and point out how we told you Colin Kaepernick would be a bust the minute he popped up on the internet with his stupid hat, or that we said unloading all those picks on RG3 was a huge mistake coming out of Baylor since the Waco massacre. But the fact is you don't pay attention. Like the time we told you Johnny Manziel was a fraud from day one who would never be a legit pro quarterback. And just today the story came out that when, it can't surprise anyone, that when the season is over after the Super Bowl, he will be released Monday. That's right, because the latest story where his ex-girlfriend Colleen Crowley had to call the police to their house after a fight, and she said she was worried about his well-being, and it forced the Fort Worth police to look for him, you ready? With a helicopter. And guess what? They found him. Wait, so you're saying they took to the air and actually located their target? Wow, maybe the Browns should sign that helicopter at quarterback, because Manziel never did that. Manziel has become as terrible a person as he is a quarterback, and it's a shame it took the Browns so long to realize it. But kudos to his hot girlfriend, that is, Colleen Crowley, because unlike the city of Cleveland, she stopped letting him slap her in the face a month ago. Now, let's get to the extravaganza. The coin toss. People, any self-respecting gambler is going to bet on the coin toss. It's a rite of passage, betting a ridiculous amount of money on a commemorative coin that is of absolutely no value. Sure, it makes about as much sense as buying condoms as you walk out of an abortion clinic, because in both cases, you're dropping money on something that at this point would look ridiculous being put into any kind of slot right now. But you might as well get started as soon as you can with the gambling. Now, here's the thing. The Broncos are the home team, meaning Cam Newton will be calling it, so I can guarantee you he will be calling heads. Why? Because if you saw the pants this guy showed up for Super Bowl week, you can be sure this guy is never thinking of tails. And considering how everything is coming up Newton this year, he'll be right. Take heads. Another Geno's Pick staple for the Super Bowl, the national anthem, people. The over-under is 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Wow. Just today it was announced that the national anthem, way to hold off NFL, will be sung by Lady Gaga, which is great news, kids, because I actually found a clip of her singing the national anthem online for the New York City Pride Rally in 2013. And guess what? Took her 2 minutes and 14 seconds to sing it. Not to mention that everyone recalls back at Super Bowl 47, the last time a renowned piano player, that sexy bitch Alicia Keys, came out and sang the national anthem on a piano, and when everyone saw that piano, they started ripping up their tickets for the under. Well, 2 things you can be sure of this Sunday. Gaga will certainly have a piano out there, and she will do her best Tom Brady impression with it, hitting every small white option available and occasionally hitting something black in between them. That's going to take a while. Take the over on the anthem. All right, you got to bet on the first player to score a TD, and given these 2 defenses, it could take a while. Look, Ted Ginn Jr. is going off at 10-1, but considering he drops half the passes thrown to him, you're talking about betting 20-1 on that. Look, we're looking at a Panther team that's not going to let Denver run, and we're looking at a Denver team that's not going to let Cam Newton do anything, which is why I see the first TD being scored late in the game after Graham Gano hits more threes in 30 minutes than Steph Curry did the entire night before. Who do I think will get it? I'm thinking C.J. Anderson, because he's been living like this all year. And that touchdown will come on a defensive turnover off a short field, because C.J. Anderson is just like the last running back to rely on a defense that badly, O.J. Simpson. American Crime Story this week on Fox. Are we getting money for that? Jesus Christ, take C.J. Anderson. Which brings us to the actual game. 2 years ago, people, we told you not to bet the Broncos, right? And we were right. What are we going to do this year? Well, let's see what Daddy wrote on the teleprompter. Yes, I get it. The Panthers have put a beat down on the last two teams they faced while pouring on the points at home, and their fans loved it. Let's face it. In the past year, Cam Newton has put his balls in the hands of more little boys at Ericsson Stadium than Michael Jackson ever did at the Neverland Ranch. But just like Jackson before him, he may struggle when they put him on a national stage. Look, I'll give him credit, as he has dropped some serious points on a pair of top 10 defenses, Arizona and Seattle, but Denver's not a top 10 defense this year. It may be the best defense we've ever seen in the Super Bowl since the 1985 Bears, or at least since the 2002 Ravens. And what don't you get about a team with a better defense usually winning the Super Bowl? Let me tell you something else. This will not be Manning's last game as an NFL quarterback, because he played his last game as an actual QB midway through last year. That's when he began his career as a knuckleball pitcher, which has made things tough on his receivers. In fact, the only QB that was harder to catch than Manning the past 5 years was Ryan Leaf. Yeah, we can finally compare those two. But that's just it. 2 years ago, the Broncos lost 43-8 when Manning couldn't win the game for his defense. But 2 years later, the Broncos have a defense that can win the game for Manning. Take Broncos and the points you're getting. Which brings us to the total. The game is 45 points. This may be the easiest bet of the day. If you think Cam Newton is going to keep up that torrid pace through the NFL with his offense, then fine, take the over. But people, think about it. The Denver defense is going to be asked to play a huge game, and something they've been doing all year is exactly that. Over the past month, they've allowed an average of just 17 points a game, a little more, and there's no reason to believe they're not going to do that again, coming off a full week's rest, because Peyton Manning may have always been the smartest man in the game. And now he's not just doing it with a sharp noodle for a brain, he's doing it with a slightly less sharp noodle of an arm. But hey, at least the defensive kids around him have been surviving on noodles since college. Take the under. That's Geno's Pick Season 8. See you next year on TV, I promise.